Before I start, forgive my pronunciation when reading the synopsis of this story. So I'm gonna be reading a short story today. Um, let's just begin. I will say you can find this in Harlequin, by the way, if you're looking for this as a short story. If the plot interests you, you can find this in the Harlequin website for free. It is yeah, the Boston Moonlight Secret. I found it. You can find it for free. You can you have to create an account, but you can, once you create an account, you can read a bunch of different, not just this story, but you can read a bunch of different short stories for free. So yeah, I have to confess they've become addicting lately. I originally started reading a bunch of short stories so that I can get the structure right, since I'm writing a romance novel, or a romance novella slash short story, not novel, short story for my class. And I wanted to get the structure right since we're mainly reading novels, and I think the structure of short stories and novels kind of differs, at least from my reading. They differ in a lot of ways. So I've been trying to make sure I get the structure right. So I've been reading a lot of Harlequin short stories because it's kind of like the only place I know I can read these kind of short stories. So yeah, so you can read a bunch of short stories for free if you create an account. So let's begin with the synopsis. Blaze Bowen, I think is how you pronounce his last name, isn't sure what's wrong with him. Since the car accident 2 months ago, he's twice woken to find himself in a neighbor's lawn, naked. So he recruits his personal assistant, Katie Cooper, to keep an eye on him. After a year of mutual flirtations with her charming yet uptight boss, Katie is all in when he asks her to stay the night and watch him sleepwalk. But when she learns what's really up, she's not sure if she can handle the wild, in quotes, in her boss. Uh, Together, the two must face the challenge of Blaze remembering who and what he is, and the seductive allure of an office romance. All right, let's sum up my review and then go in depth. Here's my thing. Here's my review for this short story, in a nutshell. I forgive a lot in short stories, but I can't get over the fact that these characters are pieces for the author to move around as the plot needs. The story attempted to have these characters follow an arc, but it doesn't work because the development is sacrificed for the romance. The romance isn't even that good. I will say I was slightly petty about this because I think short stories are really cool, really great, and short story romances have become really interesting to me. I will say I mainly read, a lot of what I read is in the what's it called? In the Walk on the Dark Side section of Harlequin. I don't know. I don't like the idea of reading to fall in love and be seduced. I like the darker themes, and this kind of is in the interesting area because it has like shifter vibes. So this is basically a shifter type story. So to get into my review though, first of all, the prose is good. The writing is great. I think the prose is accessible and easy to read. I read it in a couple of hours. I think I was watching, if I remember correctly, I was watching a live stream and I read it and I read it as the live stream was kind of playing. Yeah, I watch stuff in the background and read. It's a normal occurrence for me. So that's kind of how I read it, and I read it in a couple of hours. It was only like, it's like 31 pages. So it's definitely not that long of a story. So that was good. The prose definitely helped. The pacing was all over the place because there were moments that felt like they were going too fast. There were a bunch of time skips in the story, so it felt like it was going too fast. And if I was going to write a. And I don't think that this is, I don't know, conducive, I guess. I don't think that the short story format is conducive, at least nothing I've noticed yet. If a short story proves me wrong, I will hopefully change my opinion on that. But from what I have seen so far, I do not believe a short story is conducive to writing a full-length romance where you watch them fall in love and everything. It feels more conducive to the like stage or so on, or like a, or it feels like it will work for like a second chance kind of romance, you know, like the reunited lovers trope. But for like first time lovers and stuff like that, I don't think it works for well. The only reason this one kind of works is because they've already had mutual flirtation, and it is established in the beginning that they have a thing for each other. But even then, it feels fine, I guess. So I don't think it's fully conducive to that. And these characters, again, they don't feel fully there. They're kind of established, but not hugely. Like, they're established, but like, they're there. So I just feel like they're established, but they're not fully there. So the story attempts to get them through an arc. I don't necessarily believe every character should go through an arc, and I think short stories doesn't necessarily push for a big arc. You can definitely make a small arc, I think, but it doesn't push for a big arc. And what I've noted, I mean, for my character to go through a specific arc, I wrote like 3 short stories. My Child of Death thing. By now, I hope, at least in my blog, it should be published. I don't think I have it on Amazon yet. We never know. It'll be great if I do, though. I really want to work on that. I need to get a cover. But I will be publishing it in my blog for sure, so that people can access it that way. But anywho, oh, right. So it doesn't seem to be conducive to this, but what they tried to do is that they tried to push these characters to go to an arc, more specifically Katie, to go through an arc, and it doesn't fully work, at least not for me as a reader, because it things are going too quickly. Things are kind of just happening really quickly, and there are a bunch of these time skips where she's just like, where we kind of just get her randomly thinking about, like, she's slightly a bit afraid because of why things happen, and she's kind of concerned about employee and boss, not to mention the other thing that I don't want to spoil. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to spoil it. Basically, the reason he keeps waking up and finding himself naked is because he turns into a werewolf at nights. So he ends up in the neighbor's lawn that way, because he wakes up and he just leaves and turns into a werewolf and stuff like that. So she's slightly freaked out about that. Could blame her. But also it just feels like it comes up when it's necessary. So it's not, this story at least, it does not really make an arc happen. So yeah, again, I forgive a lot, but this story is trying to do too much, and it just feels like it's failing miserably at it. I did enjoy the read. It turns out I do like shifter romance. It just sounds cool. There's something entertaining about... Give me a second, you guys. I need to pick up a call. Okay, sorry. I'm back. Anyway, the story was definitely trying to do too much with a short span of time, and it was trying to, like, push an arc that honestly just didn't feel like it was going to go places in that end. Like, it just felt kind of... The arc... because I was trying to do too much, the arc for Katie felt rushed. And you only have, 31 pages or so to make something happen. The best way to push an arc maybe is to make it at least 20 pages longer. maybe 20 pages longer could have made a small arc, at least a small arc. So I feel like it was trying to do a lot when it didn't have too much of a span to do it. It was fine. It was fine. But what I was saying something about shifter romances. Shifter romances are just fun. I think they're just entertaining. I just remembered my train of thought for a minute. I'm sorry. That's what happens when I stop. But shifter romances are just kind of fun to me for me to read. And I'm very curious to find and read more. If you have any shifter romances, please recommend them in the comments. I'm asking for you to recommend that because I'm looking for shifter romances. Overall, the story was fine. I gave it 2 stars. I was trying to do too much. The execution failed miserably, but it was enjoyable enough to read. So yeah, that's it. It was fine. It was, you know, it wasn't the end of the world. It was fine. It was perfectly fine.